should get the hammer, he said. All right, let's call the meeting to order. Lene, anything on the agenda in additions?
Yes, Commissioner Schmidt, there's been a few additions under the sheriff's items. We have added a donation resolution along with a budget adjustment request to retain a deputy. And under Dave Rush's items, a license has been added. We're starting with Resolution 2576 today.
Thank you. Board?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll-
Second.
oh,
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Charlie. Lene?
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina.
Yes,
Motion carries.
Approve the minutes from the August 27th meeting, special meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from August 27.
A second.
Any questions? Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Jeff. Lene?
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina.
Yes,
Motion carries.
And then motion on the September 2nd meeting, our regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the draft minutes from September 2nd, regular meeting.
I'll second it. Lene, please?
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
yes,
Way.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have Becca Nielsen come up from Clifton Larson Allen. Give us a report on our audit.
Hello, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Becca Nielsen, and I was the manager on your audit for this year. So today I'm going to go over our team of professionals, so those of us who worked on your audit, our required communications, our findings and results, and then your financial results. And then I will summarize everything for you. Moving on to slide 4. So here are our key audit members or team members this year. So Doug Host, he was returning as principal on the audit after, I think it's been about 5 or so years. So he was our principal, he oversaw everything. And then I operated as our manager on the audit, and I'm a returning member. And then Chandler Bacon was our in charge again this year for the audit. So this next slide, we are required to have certain communications with government auditing standards every year. So in your packet that I gave you, there is a stapled copy, and that is what we call our governance communication. And then these are just the items that we're required to communicate to governance or the board every single year. Standard, nothing new this year with the audit. And then in your big bound document, there is going to be a letter within there with our audit opinion. For 2024, we did have a clean or unmodified audit opinion again, so that was great to see. And then moving on to the next slide is your internal controls. So there are 2 different types of findings that we can have as auditors, and one is your material weaknesses. So these are deficiencies we find in internal controls where there is a reasonable possibility of items being misstated that would not be prevented or detected on a timely basis. So we found this year that there was a lack of segregation of duties. So this is a recurring item. It's very common for governments of this size, just with your financial, you're not able to hire enough people to adequately segregate those duties in those smaller departments with the cash collections and disbursements. So this is very common, very normal to see. And then your significant deficiencies are items in internal controls that are less severe than material weaknesses, yet we feel are important enough to be communicated to you. And we didn't find anything for this year's audit. So moving on, we will have our Minnesota legal compliance and our federal single audit results. So every year, the Minnesota Office of the State Auditor releases 7 different questionnaires that we're required to go through as part of our audit. So when we went through these 7 questionnaires this year, we found one item that didn't comply, and that was a late payment of claims. So there was one payment that went out more than 35 days after the date of receipt of the invoice. And then federal single audit for any entities that expend more than $750,000 of federal expenditures, you're required to have a single audit. This year, the county spent $4.7 million of federal funds. So with this, we tested 3 major programs. One was your coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds, or your ARPA dollars, child support, and then medical assistance programs. So we test a lot of different compliance and reports in different areas within these programs, and I'm happy to say that we didn't find any issues within these programs for 2024. Moving on to your financial results. So this year, revenues exceeded expenditures by $2.3 million for all of your governmental funds. So expenses increased by $1.6 million from the prior year, and revenues increased by about $500,000 from the prior year. So overall, the main driver of the increase in governmental expenditures was an increase in expenses in the government fund, or the general fund. So this is going to be your cost of living adjustments and your step increases that are, for the most part, what drove that increase in expenditures. Moving on to the next slide. This slide is showing your months of expenditures in fund balance at year end over the past 6 years. So at 12/31/24, there was $46 million in unrestricted fund balance. So this actually includes balances that are committed by the board or assigned by management for specific purposes, but it does not include items that are restricted by outside parties. So your grant dollars that are restricted, or other like donations that were restricted for certain purposes, those aren't included in these balances. So as of year end, there was 7.65 months of expenditures in fund balance. The Office of the State Auditor recommends 3 to 5 months, so you're sitting well above their recommendation. And it's very consistent year over year. There was just a slight increase from the prior year, which is good to see. Moving on to the next slide is your revenues for your governmental funds by type over the past few years. So as you can see, your taxes and your intergovernmental revenues, so that's going to be your state and your federal grants and any local grants that come in. So those are going to be your biggest categories, and combined, they actually make up 87% of the county's total revenues. So you can see taxes are increasing every single year, and that's just due to the increase in your levy. And then intergovernmental revenues tend to fluctuate year over year depending upon the grants that come in. So you'll see in 2020, I believe, is that spike with the CARES funding. And then we actually expect to see that your intergovernmental revenues will decrease again next year, just with the last of the COVID dollars being expended. And moving on to your next slide is your expenditures in the governmental funds by function. So you can see that expenses in almost every category has been trending upwards over the past few years. You'll see there was a bit of a spike in your highways and streets, and that was just your capital projects in the prior year, so that's why it went up in 2023 and then dropped back down again. There was just some significant road projects that we noted. If you want to move on to your next slide. So this slide is specifically the general fund. So you can see that expenses increased by $2.8 million from the prior year. So about $1.8 million of these was an increase in public safety expenses, which again, most of that was driven by your cost of living adjustments and your step increases. And then there were some additional capital purchases this year. And then there was also about a $600,000 increase in your general government expenses. And that again was cost of living adjustments. Revenues also increased by about $1.8 million from the prior year. And $1.4 million of this was for property taxes. And then the rest of that was mainly going to be your interest and your investment earnings. That increased significantly over the prior year. So ending fund balance in the general fund was sitting at about $30.9 million, which was an increase of $2.3 million from the prior year. And then as of December 31st, 2024, there were about 10.3 months of expenditures in the general fund. So that's slightly down from the prior year, but not much at 10.4. So again, you're still well over the recommendation of 3 to 5 months of expenditures. Moving on to the next slide is your Public Works Fund. So expenses decreased about $5 million from 2023. And that, again, is just your road and capital projects. Those expenses decreased from 23 to 24. Most of that was actually driven by the decrease in revenue. There was a $2 million federal grant in 2023 that you guys did not have again in 2024. So the decrease in revenue also decreased your expenditures for those road projects. At year-end, fund balance in the Public Works Fund is about $6.6 million, of which $1 million is restricted for road projects and sales tax at year-end. And there's about 2.9 months of expenditures in fund balance, which is actually an increase. Last year, I believe it was 1.2 months of expenditures that was sitting in fund balance. So this fund made up a little bit of cushion in 2024. So moving on to the Human Services Fund. So there was a decrease in fund balance of $181,000 in this fund after transfers. Overall expenditures increased by about $1.1 million from the prior year. There was cost of living adjustments, some new positions added, and then new leases for vehicles, which caused the increase in expenditures. Revenues also increased by about $630,000 from the prior year. Most of that was driven by an increase in tax revenues. And then at year-end, fund balance is sitting at $9.1 million. So overall, we've noted that expenditures have exceeded the revenues in this fund over the past 3 years. And at year-end, there's 8.6 months of expenditures in fund balance in the Human Services Fund. Moving on to this next slide. This slide is your county indebtedness. So it is a breakout of the types of debt that is held by the county over the past few years. I will note that this does show the bonds that were issued by the county on behalf of Pope Douglas Solid Waste. So you'll see there's a separate line for those. Otherwise, most of the county's debt comes from bonds being held. Then moving on to the next slide. So in 2024, we implemented GASB statement number 101, which is compensated absences. So there was a slight change this year on how the county's sick and vacation liability was reported at year end. Next year, we have to implement GASB statement number 102, certain risk disclosures. Thankfully, this standard shouldn't have too much an effect on the county, so we'll get a little bit of a break because the last 3 years have been hit hard with some big GASB standards. So I'm sure Jill and her team will be very appreciative of that. And then I wanted to just say thank you to Jill and her team. They've been great to work with for the past year. They kept the audit running smoothly. They were available to answer staff questions whenever we had them, and we have a lot of questions for them. So just wanted to say thank you. It's very appreciated. And then the final slide, I have my contact information up here in Doug's, so you guys can reach out to us with questions at any time. Do you guys have any questions for me today?
Any questions? No? No, we're all good. Thank you.
Thank you
very
very
much. Jill, thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Yep.
Thank the staff as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to Sheriff Troy Wolberson. Morning, Troy.
Good morning. Today I have 3 items. 2 of them are donations, so I'll begin with those. The first donation is from an anonymous donor. It's in the amount of $300. And the donor would like those dollars designated to the Sheriff's Honor Guard. So I'd ask the board to accept those dollars to be designated to the Honor Guard.
I'll make a motion to accept Resolution 2576, Honor Guard donation.
A second.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Jeff. Any questions? Lene, please.
Kalina,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The second donation is in the amount of $100, and it's in memory of Tammy Zarbuck. Some of you may know Tammy. She's a longtime and good friend of the sheriff's office, always enjoyed the canine program. And so it's her family's wishes that this $100 be designated to the canine unit and for the purchase of a new canine. And I'd ask the board to accept that donation.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2577 to accept the donation of $100.
Second.
Thanks, Jeff. Charlie, any questions? Lene?
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And the last item today is regarding the retention of a deputy sheriff position. This position has existed for the last 3 years through a DWI enforcement grant. And we've been fortunate to, when we applied to have that grant renewed. That did not happen this year. We applied for the grant and, for probably a multitude of different reasons. It could be that we weren't approved. It could be there was traffic safety money that was reduced or different agency applied. And because we've been chosen 3 years in a row, it might be someone else's turn. So we did not receive the grant money. It was in the amount of $125,000. Purpose of it was to reimburse the cost of that deputy. And so in the past, the board had approved the position because it was grant funded. And at this time, without the grant dollars, of course, it would impact the budget. And I will say this, grant dollars are nice, but one of the problems that comes with grant dollars is they also have specific requirements. And so if we retain this position without the grant dollars, we don't have to meet those specific requirements that the DWI enforcement grant had, which means we can schedule the deputy at any time of the day that we want, and we can utilize the deputy for any purpose that we want. And so my proposal is that we retain the deputy for the purposes of school safety and traffic safety. And obviously there's a lot of concerns about our students going to school and being safe. And so my proposal is that this deputy would spend their day, the school day, traveling between the different towns that have schools in the county outside of the city limits of Alexandria. They have SROs inside the city, for schools inside the city limits. Osakas, we provide a deputy, an SRO over there. So this would be the schools in Kensington, Evansville, Brandon, Garfield, Carlos, and Miltona, that this deputy basically would be roving or random patrol between those schools, having a marked squad and a uniform presence throughout the school days. And while traveling between the various towns, the deputy would also be doing traffic safety, so through enforcement or education. The other part of it is that, the deputy obviously this would not be a school resource officer, so the purpose would not be the deputy going in this, not that they can't, but the overall purpose would not be to go into the schools. It would be to be present outside the schools, which means traffic safety in the school zones. A lot of kids, especially in our smaller towns, walk to school, ride bike to school. And these school zones, obviously, with children present, the speed limits are reduced during that time. And so school safety would be the priority, but because of the traveling between the towns, that gives an opportunity to also continue doing traffic safety, which is what the DWI enforcement grant allowed us to do. Now, I hate to say this, but it will still be a DWI traffic safety factor because we see DWI arrests at all times of day. And as I've stated before, a lot of our DWI arrests today are drug-related. And so not only will we be keeping our students safer, we'll also be keeping the rest of the public safer by being out there and providing traffic safety. And so the question will come up, and so I'm going to try and answer it, is how are we going to pay for this? We do have public safety funds. That one-time public safety funding was in the amount of about $985,000. We have not spent any of those dollars, and so that is a potential funding source. Plus, we have a drug forfeiture and DUI forfeiture funds totaling about $260,000. So there is some funding available. It hasn't been utilized. And just so you know, drug forfeiture funding can be used for the purpose of law enforcement training, education, and so forth. Because the priority here would be school safety, I would look at, and I would have to talk with Jill about this, doing a percentage out of the drug forfeiture, because I really would like to see this position prioritizing student safety during the school days. So I don't know if I've answered all the questions, but I'll certainly take some if you have some.
Mr. Chair, I got a question for Troy. Now, this grant was $125,000, but you had to do specific things for this grant to be in effect. Is it going to be less than that if you don't have to do certain things to follow the terms of the grant?
It would still be a full-time deputy position, and so that grant was to reimburse the cost of a full-time deputy. This would still be a full-time deputy, so it'll cost the same. And the grant that we applied for was just under $125,000. So we had budgeted for $125,000 of grant revenue, which we won't be receiving. And it is a traffic safety grant, so that grant actually ran October to October. It's on the federal fiscal year, which I've never understood that fiscal year, but
So October would be the end of that grant money?
Yep, October 1st will be the end of the grant. And we're okay this year as far as, the last 3 months of the year would be able to handle that. But as far as next year, taking the brunt of that 125, I don't think we'll be able to, I know we won't be able to handle it without increasing the budget, so. And using these funds is a way of not increasing the budget and using the funds in a way that benefits everybody in the county, and especially our students in all of the various schools out in the county. And
I'm all for school safety, the way things have been going lately. It hasn't been good.
Well, I'll just say this. I don't think school safety's been taken seriously enough over the years. I think there are ways that we can do a better job of keeping our students safe. And uniform presence is definitely a deterrent to that type of incident. And I think that this is one additional step. I mean, you can add cameras to a school, and if nobody's monitoring the cameras, they're just part of a recording system. You're recording stuff that's already happened. And so when I hear, well, we added a bunch of cameras, my follow-up question is, well, who's watching them? Because if nobody's watching what's happening on those cameras, we're not preventing anything. We're just recording it for later criticism and critique and whatnot. And so if schools want to add cameras and add people monitoring the cameras and then dispatching help from what they see on those cameras, I'm all for that. But that's not where we're at. And if you look at Columbine, that happened in 1989. Columbine has pretty much their own mini police force, and probably not many. They're set up for school security. They'll admit the biggest mistake they made was leaving the school building standing because it's become a destination for people with mental health issues who have see the shooters as heroes. And so Columbine, I mean, that's the way to go if a person can afford that. But they have thousands of threats per year that they're addressing. So this is a proposal that, to me at least, takes a step forward in making people, at least hopefully deterring those types of things from happening by having uniform presence. And I could go into a whole spiel of my theory on school security. It truly should be armed security at every school, but
I hear you. Let's ask, anybody else got any questions?
Yeah, I just, maybe a statement or two, but I agree, and with, the spend, we can't afford not to do some things. The other thing is he's not going to try. Troy and I visited a little bit about this, and they're going to grant rate for the following year and everything else. And he's got room within his budget. Like he said, he can, I don't disagree. I think we have enough room in there. I'll make a motion, we do it.
I'll
Continue.
second that.
Okay, any questions? Jeff?
I agree with what you're saying, Troy, is, you have someone at the camera, but then sometimes when you have someone looking at the camera, it's already too late. But I believe having a deputy on presence on site, we're being proactive. And we can't put a price tag on the children's lives. And I'm for kid safety in the schoolyard. In the situation that we're living in today, we've got to do something to keep proactive. And if we have it in the budget, we can move forward.
I got a question, Troy. You're going to take this out of the two that you talked about?
I'm sorry.
You're going to take some of these funds out of the two that you talked about, the safety and,
that would be the way to divide it up.
Divide
If
it
we
up.
wanted to utilize different funds, we could do that, use drug forfeiture.
that would help a lot without increasing
And
the
the public
budget.
safety funds that were set aside.
Okay. Any more questions? Lene, please.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Public Works, Tim.
Good morning. We got two items on the agenda for you today. The first one is to approve a new purchase of a new boiler This would be for our Brandon shop. We've been kind of nickel and diming the one there for the last probably 5 years. It's beyond time to replace it. So we've got 2 quotes for that. The one that's in your packet is the one that we're wanting to do, and we'd love to do that option A, the 95% efficient one.
Board?
Is it the only company that do that quote from?
No. No, we did get another quote. We got one from Ellingson as well.
Okay. Why is it that we have the number from Ellenson?
Sure. So the one that we put in the packet was the one that we were wanting to do. So Ellingson actually only quoted us the 80% efficient. That's what I got from Steve. It's actually a higher price than even what they have in there, but we want to do the 95%. Stainless steel, because we're replacing this thing after about 9 years, 8 years. We want something that's going to last a little bit longer.
Tell them how old the one is.
It's about 8 years.
I understand.
And
My concern is, I agree with Jeff, we should have had the other one in our packet so we could look at
Certainly.
it. That's all I was asking, and I did bring it up to you.
yep.
Board? I'll make a motion to approve the A&E plumbing and heating boiler replacement.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Lene, please.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes.
Way.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So I got one question. Now that'll be installed before winter time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that it's ready to go for,
That's why we're here before October.
Better timeline than our roads, are you saying?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Next item on the
There's
agenda.
a shot, okay?
We got Mike here to talk about his drainage request. This was something that came to you prior. Our direction was to go get some quotes on that, and we're back here with what we had.
Yeah, so in July, this first came before you. It's the County Ditch 21 up by Millerville. The landowners would like to either repair the entire system, or they, while I was getting bids, requested potentially a shorter repair of the main to a low point in it. And I did send out requests for bids to 6 different contractors. The only one that did return bids was Mark Basil, and I do have the costs of the full repair would be $85,350. And the cost of the shorter repair would be $13,000. He did also note that due to the ground conditions, it's entirely possible there would be added expense of bedding material, getting that there, and the labor to install it.
The ditch fund is currently sitting at,
As of January 1st, there was $982.25 in it. It has a current loan balance of $76,000. There's a current 200% levy, and that brings in $12,442.60 a year.
Questions?
We
I
could
don't-
do the-
I
we
don't
could
think
do the
it's-
math. That's 8 years to pay off the current
Yeah.
balance, much less the new work to be done, which is another 9 years.
I don't think it's feasible.
Well, and you said they had talked about taking it over on their own?
That would be an option for them, is they could petition for abandonment and then do the repair on their own of that upstream portion.
How do you want a motion then to deny this request and suggest they do that?
Yeah, I can bring that.
That's what I would feel like, because I know they talked about doing that at one time. So I would make a motion to deny the request of
Okay.
the repair.
Yeah, you're the drainage authority. So.
Well, these guys gave that as an option, and if they don't want to do what you totally ask them to do. We know what they want to do.
Yeah.
So why don't we let them go ahead and do that, but let's not obligate all the rest of the landowners to what they got going on.
Okay.
I would make a motion to deny the repair request and let them go forward with their private plan.
I second.
Any other discussion? Lene, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
motion carries.
Are you good with that?
Thank you.
Okay.
One very quick update. You guys know Mike is leaving us, so I want to make sure that you guys are aware we do have a new drainage and ag inspector hired. His name is Shane Fink, that is F-I-N-C-K. He'll be starting at the end of the month. With that, the short time that Mike's been in this position, he's done a fantastic job. I just wanted to thank him for the work that he's done and wish him well in his future.
Yes, Mike, I'd have to agree from the board and from the county, appreciate everything you did. You really brought a new level of doing this to us and understood it a lot better. Thank you.
Yeah, we wish you were staying.
Yeah.
Well, that's nothing, we don't know who the new guy, but thanks, Mike, appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
Human Services Director, Tabitha.
Good morning.
Morning.
As you will recall, Ann, Steve, and I came last board meeting with multiple opioid contracts. One of the contracts that was approved by the board that day had an error in the amount that the contract was for. So I come back to you this morning to request approval of an amended contract for West Central Minnesota Community Action. In the initial contract, there was $35,000 typed into the grant amount, and their actual request from Douglas County was $150,000. So the grant ask, everything about it is exactly the same with the exception of the grant amount. So I'm just looking for board approval to accept an amended contract to reflect $150,000.
Board?
Making a motion to approve the amended opioid contract for West Central Community Action from West Central.
I second.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Jeff. Any further discussion? Lene, please.
Kalina,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Land and Resource Director, David Rush.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So my first item for you is a landscaper excavator license. We recommend approval of that license.
I'll make a motion to approve Glacial Lakes Landscaping License. Any further discussion? Thanks, Charlie.
What's that?
You seconded it, right?
Yeah.
I said thanks. Lene, please.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. The next items I have for you are from the Planning Advisory Commission meeting last week. The first is a conditional use permit. Joseph and Bridget Marvin, owners, James Thomason and Leah Landwehr, are applying to have livestock in residential district. They want to have horses at this property, which is located adjacent to Lake Winona off of East of County Road 45. So Planning Commission looked at it. The property had a building on it. Previously had been a farm. There were animals there before. And Planning Commission didn't see any major issues, recommended approval with the 6 conditions that are in the staff report.
I'll make a motion to approve with conditions.
I second.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Jeff. Any further discussion?
Just for 3 horses, correct?
Correct. Mr. Chair, the conditions in there, condition number 2 limits that the number of livestock shall be limited to 3 animal units. And we did break that down in case a future owner doesn't have horses and they want to have chickens instead, then we've limited it to, you know.
That's what I mean. I was looking at that before, the other fowl and different things. They don't have that going on or anything, and they're gonna fence the 5.1 acres of this area.
They intend to. There's a plan in your packet that shows the
Yep.
pasture area that they'd like to have there.
Well, there's plenty of room in that area. It's just depending how big of an area they want for the horses.
Right, and for the benefit of the board and the public, that area is actually within the airport
It's in the,
safety zone.
it's in the crash zone.
Yeah, which means there will not be additional development occurring in that area. Nobody can construct a home or a new building or a larger building, so what we have there is what we have.
You can put up a building, you just can't put any people in it.
That is true. That is true.
But
Tree
animals
doesn't-
are okay?
Animals are okay. When you looked at, because the county looked at buying some of that, I remembered that. You can only put 22 people in about a 70,000 square foot building, because that's a crash zone thing. I thought, oh, that's a good idea. I'm sorry, okay.
Any further discussion?
Oh, good.
I got one more question, along with Charlie was saying, you know, if the owner is only limited to 3 horses, what if the owner wants to expand?
And have, Mr. Chair, and have more than 3 horses?
Yeah, if he wants to expand, like breeding and have,
Right, and so if the permit limits it to 3 animal units and they are seeking to exceed that, they would have to come back and seek an amendment to their conditional use permit to have additional animals there.
They go by age anyway.
right.
They could have 4 there if they're not all mature horses.
Okay.
That is true.
Call for the question. Renee, go ahead.
Way,
Yes,
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina.
Yes.
Motion carries.
My next item is a conditional use permit. This is to expand the number of units at an existing commercial resort. This is West Ridge Shores on the west side of Lake Mary. It's been a resort since well before when we had zoning, probably in the 40s or earlier. The applicant has come to us. They have the space there to add 2 additional units in the second tier, meaning they're beyond 200 feet from the lakeshore. And in addition, what they are seeking to do, as some other resorts in our area have, is they're seeking to recover some of the capital out of the existing resort. In other words, to have additional funds for fixing up units and adding new ones and so forth. So they are also asking to sell the units, but keep them in the resort rental pool. And so we've had this happen at a couple of different resorts, including Arrowwood Resort earlier this spring. So this is really no different than that. And you can see there's conditions that are proposed in there by the Planning Commission in their recommendation for approval. And the purpose of those conditions, most of them, is to ensure that even though there would be a transfer in ownership of the real estate and the units, those units must remain as part of the resort rental pool and not become private, summertime cabins or residences. So if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Any questions? Board's wishes?
I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions.
I'll second it. Thanks, Tim. Any further discussion? Renee, please.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes.
Way.
yes.
Motion carries.
And my last item for you is a preliminary plat of the same. So this would be Loon Ridge Addition. In order to sell the real estate under the cabins, the resort needs to be platted. Again, this was a similar process that Arrowwood went through in order to create a footprint underneath of their cottages. So Here you can see in your packet, the preliminary plat showing the footprint that would go along with each one of the resort units. Again, Planning Commission recommended approval with conditions, and the primary goal of the conditions is to ensure that these units remain part of a commercial resort and not as private homes for people.
Mr. Chair, that's what that was. Okay, these are to stay as a resort managed by the Fredericks, correct?
Managed by, Mr. Chair, as indicated in the conditions, managed by a professional management company experienced in the management of resort property. So what we're saying is it can't just be a group of homeowners. It needs to be managed by the Fredericksons who have that experience. They'll probably create an umbrella company. Lake Darling Resort on Lake Darling is managed by Lake Darling Resort LLC.
Same people that built it, we know that.
So
Okay.
that's what's happening. If they sell it in the future,
Right.
a company will have to manage it.
Well, I'm looking at minimum lot size of 2.5 acres, and then you got a single residentially lot size of 20,000 square feet, which is less than a half an acre.
Yeah.
So I mean, okay.
So our,
In a resort, I get it, but like you said, you can't turn it into a PUD like it says. And
you can, plan unit developments
you
allow
said
you
you
to
can't have
have
individual.
okay, so it still is a plan unit development. You can't convert it in, you could, by going through this process again, as we have with other resorts, you can convert it into a plan unit development. And again, we'd have those sort of restrictions where we don't want this to become year-round residences for people. In this case, it's simply going back into the rental pool, so it's not quite that full step of they're done being a resort.
At this step.
At this step. Now, that doesn't mean that in the
Doesn't
future.
mean they
that-
won't be shooting for that in a couple of years or next year.
It could happen, and
Okay.
Mr. Chair, as Mr. Meyer is well aware, owning a resort these days, trying to get your money back out of it when you want to exit, there are few options available, and this is a possible option, but right now they're seeking, they want to continue to operate it as a resort.
Okay.
Any other questions? Board's wishes?
I'll make a motion to approve. Have these things on record so the next time they come.
I'll second.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Tim. Any further discussion? Lene, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
motion carries.
And if you don't have anything else for me, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. Finance Director Jill.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have two items this morning. The first is just looking for a motion to approve bills totaling $2,047,937.26.
Motion to pay the bills.
A second.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Jeff. Any further discussion? Lene, please.
Kalina,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
motion carries.
And the next thing that I have is to set the preliminary tax levy for the 2026 budget. We've made some changes with Medica non-union rates that came in, and the outside agency budget requests that you have approved and any position changes have been made. So right now, just looking for a motion to set preliminary levy at $38,121,394, which is a 5.65% increase from 2025. That's down a couple percent from where we started at our first meetings, the beginning of August. And we'll continue to work on it, but we can't go up after the preliminary levy is set.
Board?
Make a motion to set the preliminary levy at 5.65%.
I second.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Jeff. Any further discussion? Lene, please.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina.
Yes.
Motion carries.
One other side note, just since it came up today, the one-time public safety aid, we already budgeted that as a spend down in 2025. So that will be done this year. We can figure it out going forward, but those funds will be spent by the end of this year.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Jill. Okay, at this time, we're going to go into closed session. The meeting will be closed as permitted by Minnesota statute, section 13D.05, subdivision 3B, to discuss opioid litigation as it relates to all those nice customers. So I need a motion.
So move.
I second.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Jeff. Any discussion? Lene, please.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,